Okay, just a second. I will need to change my microphone because I'm hearing it. Okay, let's go. So I'm Rémi en français. In French, I'm a game developer. I have a formation in 3D modeling and game programming, and I'm currently working on a crowdfunding platform called Driven. It's in a prototyping phase. So today I'm doing this live stream to build a community, but this community will not be around Driven specifically. It's more like gathering fans and doing something else while the prototyping phase is going on. So anyone, the theme of this series of live stream would be creating a game in a team while I'm teaching people, especially beginners. So the live stream teaching will be free, but if you want to have a specification on a certain subject like 3D modeling and programming, and you want it to be more specified to your needs, you can become a Patreon. On my Patreon, I will give the link eventually, but you can find it on mehandizes.com. Mehandizes.com I didn't have the TSS protection, so it will give you keep you access from it, but you can click advance and go anyway on the website, and on the landing page you will have the icons of the Patreon and YouTube and so on. So if you want to have a more thorough support from me as a teacher, you please become my Patreon. I will add you to the Discord and be helping with anything. I will probably give courses and things like that. So during the live stream series of the first step I'm going to do is for today especially and the next days is to go over all the game development position that might be necessary or not, depending on how many people we can gather. So the first one I want to go over today is the writers in game development. Writers are creating the narrative and the dialogues, the character development. It's not my domain of expertise, so I don't know much, but I will make the search today with you, and eventually if someone is interested in that position, I will go further with them. So what I know about writers in game development is that first of all, game with the narrative is not my type of game, but that makes me someone difficult for writers. So if you want someone to make you better as a writer, I might be the best one ever, because history in game it's not my cup of tea. So what I know about writings is that the main mistakes that the beginners do is that they don't know the cliche. They don't know. Sometimes of them they don't read a lot of books, so they don't know what a cliche is. And cliche are like when too many people write a bit the same structure or the same situation in a story. One of the main cliche that comes to my mind is the Deus Ex Machina, and the Deus Ex Machina is in stories when the story is the story of the is the story of the media is going stronger and stronger. The events are building up, and the tension is building up. The character is getting in a very problematic situation, and suddenly near the end, it's like it goes up, and near the end, there's something that is saving the character, like out of the cloud. The name Deus Ex Machina came from the Greek. When it started in the Greek theater. This cliche started there, and it went on until today. And it's when the character is saved by an event that the reader didn't see coming. There is, for instance, one that is mitigated, like people don't agree that is a Deus Ex Machina, but it's some kind is. It's the Lord of the Ring at the end when the eagle came and saved the day for the Hobbit. There are many movies with Deus Ex Machina, like the Matrix. Neo is becoming the, but it's not the worst Deus Ex Machina. There are worse, but this is some kind of cliche that when you want to be a writer, you need to look up the cliches. Another point is that what I think is not very good is politically aware content. I think it's not. It doesn't make a quality creation. It's like it's not the place for politics because it's art, and politics should be in politics. I make a series of shorts on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and I will lead you to this. If you don't really agree, I won't say much more about because I don't want to argue about this. Other point is often there are indie games developer that wants to just a second. I want to take a look at the chat to see if there is something going on. I will just place my window and okay, so I have one viewer on. It might be me. Okay, so there is nothing, but I will keep going on, and I will cut this video and create a version on YouTube probably. So I was about to say one other point that I would say is indie dev often wants are from other countries, or even in my country, there are many game developers that wants to create a game about their roots, about their tribes, about their cultural surrounding, because they want to go back to the root, to bridge the gap between technology that is game development with the past. And this is not really a cliche. It's more like there is warning about it, because you make your the warning is not really a warning. It's just that you need to know that you make your game very niche and very, it might not cut as much people as you would like, but it's not, maybe it's that's what you want, so it's not really a warning. But you can disguise your cultural endeavor by making it into a fictional story or alien world story, like another world with your culture, and not avoid, but make people, other nations that are currently wanting to buy your game, including them into this fictional world. Because when it's not when it is very niche, like a tribe in an Asian country or something, it's difficult to include other people and make them feel included in your game. That's just one point that I would say. So what I like to do when I learn about a subject like this, because I don't know much about writers, and it's to do a search and see what is, and react to what is given on the internet. So I will switch to YouTube and see what people are saying about this. So what I would like to look for is, let's search like how to be a good writer first. What is going to pop up? So how to be a good writer, I'm going to filter out the view count. So in the end, there are many in the end, but that's not what I'm looking for. So maybe making it more niche. And yeah, I just thought about the extra credits. I was sure that was going to show up. Since I thought about extra credit, I will start with it and react to it with you.
Say hi to Lutz. Giving your...
Oh, sorry for the ads.
About it as if it's one. When people talk about game writing, they usually talk about it as if it's one monolithic thing. It is not. It's actually 3 monolithic things. Real quick up top, say hi to our guest artist for this episode, Extra Sci-Fi Zone, David Hueso. Thanks, David. There are 3 distinct pillars that make up what we offhandedly call game writing: plot, character, and lore. Not all games need to focus on all of these equally. In fact, some of the best written games come from teams realizing which of these their game should focus on, while some of the most expensive failures in game writing come from teams that never stop to separate these out and just try to deliver on all 3. And even in those rare cases where you knock it out of the park on all of them, it's virtually impossible to do so without breaking your narrative down into these pieces and thinking about which aspects of your game are going to be used to deliver which. So let's define these 3 pillars of game writing. Plot is simple. It's the actual storyline of the piece. It's what you get if you strip away everything but what happens. It's also one of the easiest to confuse. Take Final Fantasy games, for instance. People usually talk about Final Fantasy as if they were plot-driven games. But nearly every Final Fantasy game's plot boils down to a big bad threatens to destroy the world and a group of heroes band together to stop it. Some are slightly more complex.
So what I thought of is what I don't like about certain things in video games is that they seem sometimes, if especially AAAs, they seem sometimes to want to fill up a hole instead of needing a story to be there. They just want to fill the hole so that there is something, and it feels like more it's a trade-off for trade-off of quantity over quality. They diminish the quality to have more quantity, and this is one point that I thought of when I heard this part.
Like in 10, where a young man gets teleported through time by an atemporal demon fish that has to be held at bay by religious rituals and sacrifice. But fundamentally, it's big bad, end of the world, hero saves the day, ride chocobos off into the sunset. That's basically the plot to most of them. But the best Final Fantasies are the ones where the writers realize that Final Fantasy games aren't actually about plot, they're about character. Character writing is the aspect of game writing that fleshes out the characters and focuses on their lives and their struggles. It's the part that gives them personality, makes them feel holistic, and that makes them relatable or people you'd want to be. It's the aspect that makes villains not just seem like props and heroes not just be generic do-gooders. It's moments like when you find out Mordin likes Gilbert and Sullivan, or that Kratos had a hard time embracing his son. And as a writer, the interesting truth about these moments is that they often come at the expense of the plot. These sort of tiny touches where characters sit around a campfire and talk about their dreams or their family don't actually move the plot forward, which is completely fine, as whole games can seem amazingly well written, even with a paper-thin plot, if they deliver characters to us we believe in and love. But games do have a finite amount of narrative space, and it's important as a writer to understand which pillar is the most essential to the experience you're looking to convey. Which brings us to the third pillar, lore. Lore is everything that makes the world feel vibrant and alive. It's the stuff that makes it feel like the world you're playing in existed long before your characters got there, and that it exists outside of whatever your characters are doing. It's the item descriptions in Dark Souls, the books in Skyrim, and the mouse over text in Battletech. It's also a lot more than those, but we'll talk about that as we answer this question. What are the keys to delivering on each of the pillars well? Most importantly, we have to realize that what people call game writing isn't just about the written word. It's everything from level design to combat mechanics to how the characters look. What's usually termed game writing is actually equal parts writing and narrative design. So for each of these pillars, we'll consider both. Let's begin with plot. A game focused on plot has to do one of these things. Be a story you haven't seen before, which actually is quite a lot of stories in the game world, such as Firewatch or Gone Home. Have a twist a la BioShock, or have...
Okay, another point I just thought of is that often in the indie games are trying to do stories that never been done, and there is some kind of threshold, like wanting to do a story that is so far out that it becomes too weird, and thinking that the weird is what is different. And sometimes that's the problem, that's the issue. It's they are trying too hard to be different that it becomes alien. That's one point I thought of, and this is the solution is keeping in mind that you want your readers to relate to you, and at a cost, you become the other extreme is to become generic, but you want to avoid creating a story that was already told. So that's what I thought about it. Maybe
something to say, like this war of mine. If it doesn't meet any of these criteria, you're probably not making a plot-focused game. Plot, luckily, has the most overlap with traditional writing. So if you are making a plot-centric game, just write a summary of your plot and share it with people. Do they think your twist is amazing, or your story novel, or your tale meaningful? If not, it's back to the drawing board. And while plot is perhaps the most divorced of the three pillars, if you're going to have a twist ending, and especially if there's something you're trying to say with your game, try to incorporate it into the mechanics as well. Papers, Please would be ineffective as a narrative if it weren't a narrative about knowing when to break the rules, told through a game entirely about strictly following rules. To add character to your characters, on the other hand, it's essential every part of your team is working closely together from the get-go. A player's first impression of every character is going to be the visuals. What do they look like? A bold warrior? An effete mage? A roguish space pirate? That look will guide your player's first impression of them. Along with that, how your characters move, how they dress, and how they hold themselves will say a lot about who they are. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't ever play against type. In fact, you should a lot of the time, but the visuals will still be a big part of defining what type you're playing against. No matter what you're doing, though, your art department can literally save you thousands of words when it comes to giving personality to your characters. So make sure you're in sync with them. Next, there's mechanics. We've talked about this before, but your player is going to spend a vast majority of the game not in text boxes or cutscenes, rather, they're going to be out there doing things. What your character does says a lot about who they are. Imagine if Tracer had Reinhardt's mechanics. The character wouldn't be remotely the same. Along with that, think carefully about your voice stabs, the things your characters call out during gameplay. Those are not throwaway lines. Your players are going to hear those more than anything else in the game. Lastly, but perhaps most importantly, spend time thinking about who these characters really are. Not just what they do or what their role is in your world, but who are they? What are their hopes and dreams? What are their failings? Who was there before they got swept up into all of this? And what do they think about what's going on? Then think.
I just thought that maybe something, but not maybe, I think that's a good point, is that when you create a story, there is many things that won't be in the plot, like the backstories. It makes a character more profound, more realistic, and keeping the character fitting that backstory make it more real too. Even especially if you do like multiple series, then the character is currently in during many years, and he stay in characters or he develops into something very slowly. That's what I was going to say. It's important to have many things that are not going to be shown to the readers, many structure, and it's like that in other things, like in art. When you do your mood board, you assemble pictures that will create the structure and the colors and the look of the thing that you are creating. And those pictures won't ever be seen by the audience. So that's important to have. It creates. It's one part that I see that often the beginners don't have. It's that they don't have a visual dictionary of their creation. They lack the visual stories. Like often when the difference between someone who draw a picture since their childhood and someone who start at 20, the person that start later in life trying to draw, they lack the visual story. So that makes a great difference. Is like experience, having experience. It's create a sensation of experience.
Think about how they would embody all those things. Do they speak out about their problems, or do they bottle things up? Do they act too quickly, or do they think about things too long? It's the small details, not the broad strokes, that give characters character. so you have to find them. Finally, we have lore. If the game is more about being a part of a living world than actually having a traditional narrative, you simply have to find all the space you can to work lore in. This means not only item descriptions, in-game books, and loading screen text, the very world of your game itself needs to deliver that lore. Have a ruined castle? It can't just be any ruined castle. It has to have a history and a reason for being in ruins, and your level design should reflect that. Have a suit of armor from an old knightly order? Well, it better have their insignia on it, and so better everything else that comes from that group. Everything has to be specific, and consistency is key. This is where a story Bible helps. I've found that when delivering plot or character-driven games, writers can, at times, actually get distracted by going too deep into the world and come up with enormous backstories that they'll never be able to deliver in-game. But if you can avoid that pitfall and always remember that the player doesn't actually know all the headcanon that you've never actually shown them, then story Bibles are very helpful, no matter what type of narrative you're creating. But in lore-driven games, they're essential. Write out everything. Know your world inside and out. Put in as much detail as you can, and, most importantly, put it together in some easily searchable way, so that anytime anyone on the project is working on anything, it all remains consistent. So those are the 3 pillars of game writing: plot, character, and lore. Almost every game will have some elements of all 3, but I'd wager 80% of the games you've played that have great writing.
Okay, let's search for something else. Maybe look at another one that is not extra credits. What is that millennial writing? I don't want to look at it. Seems like we triggering or just picking at people. Not game developer. I think the view count is no, not extra credit. Oh, Dungeon and Dragon, maybe. Not a game designer. No, not game reviews. There is not much. Yeah, we'll go with
the main issue that a lot of games have, especially with new DMs, is that the players lose interest. They can love the world, love their characters, and even like the way...
This is specific to Dungeon and Dragon with a master that is leading the story on the table, so might not be ideal for our subject today. Story driven, maybe. Oh, sorry for the ad. My ad block is not.
Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you something I like to call the indie game formula, or for convenience just the formula. And this is going to be mainly focused towards story driven and character and narrative based video games. So if you're looking to make the next Super Meat Boy or the next Roblox, then this is not the video for you. You can follow the formula yourself. It outlines why and how some of the most popular story-driven indie games, like Undertale, are so beloved. The formula has 5 basic elements that all come together as a whole to make a great game. What I'm trying to do is show you how these good games I'm going to talk about executed these elements and why they executed them so effectively, so you can learn from them and get inspired. 1. Characters and cast of characters. 2. Unique gameplay element. 3. Interrelated music. 4. Morals or an effective use of video games as a storytelling medium. This is an important one. And 5. World building and pertinence. Some of this may sound obvious to you, but some games follow this formula and still fail. I'll explain. Segment 1. Characters and cast of characters. The reasons that these games are so memorable and appealing, at least to a lot of people, are the characters. Characters help to propel the story through actions and dialogue, and they're what you hope to get attached to throughout the experience. Just like any real human being, you want to be friends with that person and you want to enjoy being with them. In Lisa the Painful RPG, your party members have interesting designs and personalities, and the characters written for the story, Brad and Buddy, are super complex and very interesting. A cast of characters, notably in Undertale, Night in the Woods, all the Mother games, Lisa the Painful, Thomas Was Alone, To the Moon, are what make a story game really good, in my opinion. A feeling of camaraderie and interaction. So when you're making your game, put a lot of effort into the characters. Develop each one as a complex being, a realistic being. Make them interact, and most importantly, make them important to the story at hand. Don't just make characters for the sake of making a character. And make sure they evolve. They shouldn't be the same the entire game. It's satisfying to see a character learn something about themselves or someone else, which almost all games that follow this formula are good at, and well, most popular movies, books, comics, you know, they're good at character development and character arcs. Segment 2, Unique Gameplay Element. I want to preface this segment by saying that it isn't integral to have unique gameplay. You could have the standard RPG Maker battle system for all I care, basic walking simulator side-scrolling, and follow everything else flawlessly. It just helps. The most obvious game for this segment would be Undertale. As an RPG, which is stereotypically known to either have turn-based battles with spells and or real-time turn-based battles like in Chrono Trigger. In Undertale, it was super refreshing to see something unique and fun. It had a bullet hell mechanic and the ability to talk to your enemies and befriend them, which was pretty unheard of, except in 1992's Shin Megami Tensei, which actually served as inspiration for Undertale. Night in the Woods is fairly linear, but if you decide to explore the town, there is much to find, and there are a lot of people to talk to, and it builds the world a lot, which gets into segment 5. While there are side-scrolling exploration games like Lisa, everything else was done so well, it's just very different from most games on the market. Speaking of Lisa, it is a standard RPG, but it has major exploration and world building, segment 5, and the battle system, although basic RPG Maker, again, RPG Maker has that aura of stank, but Lisa really does a good job with it. It has very unique character animations and super riveting strategy and difficulty. And the story is just so fascinating. It's like everything works so well in that game. In One Shot, the gameplay is very unique. Some of the puzzles literally manipulate your computer, adding files to different locations, moving the actual game window, etc. This gameplay complements segment 4 perfectly, which I will elaborate on later. So when you're making your game, do something interesting. It doesn't necessarily have to be unique, but it has to be implemented well. And if it's possible, the gameplay should complement the story, but this is a hard task. But of course, if it does complement the story, like Undertale, it creates a fantastic experience. Segment 3, Interrelated Music. While it's pretty obvious, music is way more important than you might think. It gives tone, atmosphere, emotion, and character to an event, a setting, or person. Music isn't just something for the background, it can even be part of the story. In fact, it is best implemented when it is part of the story. One of the most important elements of the music in some of the greatest games and movies and TV shows is motifs, or leitmotifs.
That's something I thought earlier, but I didn't stop to tell it. I think that sometimes stories don't really need words, so there is the ambience of the scene, because it's not a book. In the game, you live the situation, you live the atmosphere, the music. So sometimes maybe the writer needs a situation with an atmosphere, some kind of music, especially game writers. not book writers, because they can say suddenly there is a ominous music playing. So that's it.
Where the same melody or harmony occurs in different songs to tie together characters or themes or emotions. These motifs, if connected by the listener in their head while they're listening, can create a subconscious meta-nostalgia for past events in the game or the story. And it doesn't have to be just for a story game. Leitmotifs can bridge themes and emotions, and have in many different mediums other than games. Undertale executes this magnificently in its music. Characters that are related in the story have different compositions, but will subtly have the same melodies. This could go completely unnoticed by the average player, and when you hear the similarities in two different songs, you start to connect dots and it blows your mind. This happens in so many of Undertale's musical pieces, it actually makes the music a part of the story itself, its own character, even the lore. Motifs are common, but might not be so well executed as Undertale's. In Night in the Woods, there is a recurring melody, which is like the theme song in many of the pieces, but I couldn't really find any meaningful connections. Night in the Woods music is really good though, and the composer did a good job at conveying atmosphere, so I give that little detail a pass. In Mother 3, one of my favorite games, there are many recurring themes like the love theme and the pig mask theme. They are very simple, memorable melodies that throughout the 40+ hours of the game, it gets manipulated and repeated in a lot of the songs. And there are a lot of songs. There are about 6 hours of music in that game, and a lot of the tracks have similar themes, but that's not random. Whenever the love theme appears, it is given the connotation of love, and whenever you hear it used again, it evokes the same emotion in that scene. So that's what I meant by meta-nostalgia. You hear the love theme at first, and you like it, and then when you hear it again, it gives you the same emotion. It strengthens the bond and the theme. It's the same for the pig mask theme. Whenever the enemy shows up, or whenever tension is happening, the pig mask theme shows up in order to symbolize, like, you know, their overarching power and grip and their evilness. So the music is used as symbolism, which is what a motif is really good at. Think of it like this. You condition a dog to want food when a bell is rung. So when you ring the bell, the dog is like, oh, it's food time. In the music's case,
I think it's a good point. I was going to skip this, but maybe the writers has a word to say in the music, especially if it's a pattern like this.
you are the dog, the bell is the melody, and the emotion is the food. One Shot's music is probably the most thematic and atmospheric music I have ever heard in a soundtrack. It is beautiful, yet so dystopian, with the subtle synths, reverb, heavy keys, xylophones, bizarre tones and effects, and with catchy melodies, it is unforgettable and one of the biggest highlights of the game. One Shot also manipulates leitmotifs. It has one memorable melody that is used throughout the game. And also, if the music didn't sound like this, and say it was composed like Undertale music, it wouldn't fit the world of One Shot, and it would change the entire tone. One Shot's music is extremely dystopian and very subtle and very atmospheric, and that adds to the fact that it's a very bizarre world on the edge of death. The music sets the tone. Having the right music holds the experience together. It's really important. So when you're making your game, if you are or are not a composer, try to make sure the music you make, receive, download, whatever, make sure it sets the feeling for the game. It has to help you get enveloped and invested in the world. Make motifs for specific emotions you want to reinvigorate later, or motifs for areas, characters that are linked, themes, and also, if you can, make it sound good. We want to have good music, so if you can, make the music sound pretty good. Segment 4. An effective use of video games as
I will just take a break. I need to fill up my 3D printing tank because I'm printing a piece, a large piece, and the tank sometimes needs to be refilled during the printing. So I will come back in like 5 minutes, and maybe I will take a glass of water. So in 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, I'm back. So do this. Let's continue with the writers. Something is wrong with my lighting. Is it this side? No, it's this side. Maybe the batteries. Yeah. The batteries are dying. Okay. Let's continue.
As a medium of storytelling and morals. This one is extremely important. In fact, it's what makes video games as a storytelling medium such an appealing medium in the first place. If you don't understand what I mean by an effective use of video games as a medium of storytelling, I'll give you some examples, so listen close. In What Remains of Edith Finch, there is a part of the game where you are learning about one of your relatives who worked at a fish or produce facility. You use your mouse to drag the fish's head into a chopper and then push it forward to move on. It repeats like this continuously. Grab, slide, chop, push, repeat. You get to feel what it's like to do a monotonous task, but as you're chopping away, you start to daydream on the left, and you have to use your keyboard to navigate your character through this dream world. You can't stop chopping the fish, and you have to move in the daydream. You're using your right hand on the mouse and the left hand on the keyboard. Just like real life, chopping the fish begins to become a reflex, a muscle reflex, and you focus more on the daydream. The cloud where the daydream is begins to grow extremely large, and you barely see the fish table anymore, but you still chop because you memorize the pattern. It's a part of your reflex now. This, to me, is an effective use of video games as a medium of storytelling. In a movie, you would just watch a guy chop away at a fish, and it's so boring he starts to daydream. With a book, you just read it happen. In a video game, you literally experienced it physically with your own hands, with your own mind. You feel what it's like to be taken over by daydreaming.
I will stop there because I think if you are a writer, you can do this for yourself, but I want to check out if there is something that can help you. Often Udemy is or other platform as Udemy can be helpful, but it's not free. Udemy is not free, but sometimes they sell it at lower cost. Up there are many courses, $14, 85% off. You see, it's really low cost, but it's often on sale. Really often. It's rarely bought at
on storytelling through video games, where you will learn to develop ideas, character, and plot to create a compelling story world for your game. I'm Gwen, a freelance writer. I write for games, screen, including film and VR. Another
way to search on Udemy instead of Google is to check the Google stop.
Sure, I can help with it. Please Unlock your phone.
I said Google and you. Google, stop you. Okay, Google, stop you.
Do you want to stop?
Okay, Google, I want to stop. Okay, Google.
Sorry, what do you want to stop?
Okay, Google, tell me a joke.
Sure, here's a joke. I tried starting a hot air balloon business.
Not
but
again.
it never took off. Let me know if you'd like to hear another joke.
Always the same joke. Okay, so if you want to search on Udemy, the best way, you take the main title, avoid adding other stuff. Game writer, let's go. Up. And then there it is, and you have your language. You can search the one with quiz, duration, topic. There are engine, but it's game writing, no need for engines. Okay, it's not all game writers stuff. So it's better to use this sometime rather than Google, but you will not have the Google regex. Oh, maybe it's specify writers, so maybe it works. They have a similar regex on Google. Oh, come on. Okay, I think it's my dark theme. But only on Udemy. Like, okay, it's there. I just don't see it. And I just read it. Maybe that's this short byte that breaks the. Okay. Okay, become a writer. So this is the IS ratings. You see the number of people rated this, but this is for traveling. For game, this is AI. I would say avoid using AI when writing. Maybe not for everything, but writing would say don't use what it's AI. I think AI doesn't have as much imagination as human being. Even it will only copy what we do, but I was never impressed with what it came out with, and I was mostly impressed with what people did, not what AI did at the current time. Okay, no games. Oh, we will specify game. Specify game. Like this. The white team just went off. I just read it. Okay, I think it lost the game. Okay, maybe Google is better for that. But I will leave it to that for the game writers. Next. This one I was not prepared for, but the live stream has been going on for not so long. 1 hour. Maybe I will do the French part and tomorrow another live. Should I? Where's my mouse? So that will be for today. I hope you'll be there tomorrow for the next part. That would be artist in video game. Anything that is visual. Maybe I will put animators in that. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to check up my social media account, especially Patreon if you can, on mehandthesis.com. As I said, my Patreons will have more private courses than the live stream. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you will get involved in my project soon. Bye.